Now that we have understand the hand function and we have overviewed it a little, let's take a look at the hand function in depth and detail. So we were talking about the non-prehensile and prehensile functions of the hand, and we talk about the prehensile function. So there were two major type of grips which are used for the prehensile functions: the power grip, which is used for power activities, and uh, prehension grip, which is used for delicate and fine motor activities. So in this lecture, we're going to take a look at the power grip in detail and depth, in which we're going to talk about what power grip actually is and what are the muscle activities and movements and muscle action that occurs in the power grip, and also the subtypes of the power grip, including the cylindrical, spherical, and hook grip. So power grip, as the name dictates, it is related to a significant amount of force, and the fingers tend to flex around the object in one direction and the thumb wraps around in opposite direction. For example, I have a glass here, so my fingers are actually winding around the glass in one direction and the thumb in the other, and that is actually an example of a power grip, how I'm holding this glass. Moving on, it actually provides a counter force to keep the object in contact with palm and or finger. So both the fingers and the thumb are actually providing a counter force, and the object, for a better grip and for better manipulation, needs to be in contact with the palm of the hand. Once object is firmly set in hand, it can be moved about in space by proximal joint musculature such as elbow and the humeral joint and the shoulder complex. Now, in power grips, the long finger flexors, also known as the extrinsic flexors, grip the object, whereas the long finger extensors, also known as extrinsic extensors, assist in holding the wrist in a neutrally or slightly extended position, which is also known as optimal position of the hand or wrist, sometimes also known as the functional position of the hand or wrist. Now, when the thumb is involved, it tends to be in an adducted position because it needs to wrap around the object in an opposite direction to the fingers. So that is why it needs to be adducted. Now, what are the types of power grip? As I already mentioned, power grips are three types: cylindrical, spherical, and hook grip. So let's start off with the cylindrical grip. It is perhaps the most commonly understandable type of grip, in which all the fingers are actually flexed around an object, which usually lies at a right angle to forearm, and thumb is wrapped around the object in opposite direction, often overlapping the fingers, the similar way as I was holding a glass, or if I'm holding a bottle, or if I'm holding a hammer. So all of these are examples of a cylindrical grip. And as mentioned here, holding a hammer, holding a racket, holding a wheelbarrow handle, holding a steering wheel in our hands, all of these are actually examples of the cylindrical grips, and it is perhaps one of the most common type of power grip. Cylindrical grip also has one type of variation, which is known as cylindrical grip variation, and in this, the fingers flex around the handle just like the normal cylindrical grip, but these they flex around the handle in a graded fashion, in such a way that fifth finger or the last digit actually flexes the most, and the second finger joint only partly flex, as we can see here in this picture. And thumb lies parallel and against the handle, and wrist is slight ulnar deviation. And this is sometimes important because its advantage is that it allows a forceful but more controlled use of the tool. And the example would be holding a golf club or using a screwdriver to open or tighten some screws. Now, spherical grip, I guess perhaps all of us practice this a lot in our daily life, such as opening the lids of a jar. So that is an example of a spherical grip. So what is actually a spherical grip? In the spherical grip, all fingers and the thumb are actually in an adducted position around an object, and fingers are abducted and spread apart from each other. So palm of the hand is often not involved, unlike other power grips. And examples would be holding an apple or a doorknob to open a door, or picking up a glass by its top, or actually opening a lid of the jar or anything like that. Last but not the least is the hook grip, and it involves second through fifth fingers flexed around an object in a hook-like manner, and the thumb is not involved. So even if there is actually loss of the thumb movement, this grip is possible. So metacarpophalangeal joints are extended, whereas the proximal and distal phalangeal joints are in some degrees of flexion, resulting in a hook-like position like this. So as I already mentioned that if there is a median nerve injury and a person loses his or her ability to oppose the thumb, this type of grip is still possible. And the reason is because the thumb is usually not involved in this type of grip. So example of hook grip would be holding onto a handle like a suitcase, wagon, or a bucket or something like that. So that was all about the power grips. I hope you understand something new out of it. And in the next section, we're going to talk about precision grips. So stay tuned for more lectures like this. And thank you very much for watching sqadia.com.